Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and welcome to the COMEX AI conference. As I'm sure you know, this current session is about AI in the banking and finance sector, which, of course, banking and finance is such an important element of the whole economy, as it keeps the money flowing, keeps the economy stable, and can help industries grow and prosper. So AI in banking and finance is a very growing topic, a very important topic. It helps to assess risks, it helps to detect and prevent payments fraud, improves processes for anti-money laundering. It allows us to know our customers better, to be able to predict future outcomes and trends. It can help us to analyze applications for finance, to be able to know which applications are safer and more stable and which are the more riskier, and how to plan more accordingly. So this session is part of the overall COMEX AI conference, which looks at the AI as a tool in all different types of industries. So we encourage you to join as many sessions as possible, because the types of case studies are interlinked. There's a lot that you can learn from each session. So I'd like to welcome all of the speakers here on the panel today, all of the delegates as well. And I would like to introduce our chair for the session, Firas Louati. Firas is the head of the FinTech Committee at the Central Bank of Oman. He is heavily involved in this area, a very knowledgeable person, and will be shedding shortly a lot of light from his experience as to what is happening in Oman, and also his experience in the GCC. Firas has also been instrumental in helping us launch the banking and fintech zone at the COMEX exhibition, which is currently live at virtual.comex.ai, where there's also seminars which are currently going on through the banking and finance community in Oman. So for us, I will now give the mic to you to take this session forward. Thank you.
Shukran. Thank you very much, Ammar. Thank you. Very good. Thank you very much for the great introduction for today's session. Indeed, it's a pleasure to be here today among everybody. So, assalamu alaikum, and very good morning, and or very good afternoon, depends on the time zone, to everybody. It's a great pleasure to be here.
Sorry for us. The voice has gone a little bit. Maybe if you can come a little bit closer.
Yes, sure. How about now? Is it okay?
That's much better. That's much better.
Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect. So I'll just come closer just to make sure that I don't have a sound issue.
Yeah.
So I would like really to appreciate or to pass an appreciation note to Ammar, Sadiq, and the whole team at the COMEX for the well-organized first type of, I would say, sort of an exhibition that is fully virtually using AI embedded, which is our topic today. And definitely, this is something we should be proud of, having something at this level in the country, through what OIT have done on this space. There is no doubt, organizing such sessions and exhibitions will definitely, add lots of value in terms of exchanging, knowledge, sharing experiences, creating some network here and there, addressing some of the challenges and opening opportunities as well. Despite all the challenges that we are facing nowadays due to the pandemic, it is really appreciated, and it is really excited. Such exhibitions, such seminars that we are having for the past couple of days will definitely support the journey of digital transformation in the country through raising awareness, knowledge sharing, either within the experts, which we have a number of them here today with us from different part of the world, and also through getting the everybody from the public part of it. Especially now, the technology and specifically AI is really shaping many of the sectors. It's changing the whole game, So it will help us all to get different feedback from different experiences and experts in the financial and banking, or banking and financial, and specifically in artificial intelligence, since it is the theme of this exhibition. I will not take longer, but I have a presentation to present. But before I go through my presentation, today I'm also joined by other experts from different parts of the world. I have the privilege today to introduce them very quickly, so we can get into the business. So we have Mr. Vivek Zakart, Segment Head Technology, Business Intelligence and Data Warehouse from Indian Insurance Company, Mumbai in India. Good afternoon, Mr. Vivek. So we have also Mr. Abid Butt, Director of Technology and Business Developments, Artificial Intelligence, Smart Generation from Kuwait. So I think still morning in the Kuwait, so sabah al-khair and very good morning. And also we have Dr. Anil Kumar Pandey, researcher from Mumbai, India. Good afternoon, Dr. Anil, and nice to have you with us.
Thank you, sir.
And we have also our colleague, Ms. Dua At-Toubi, from Cornerstones Consultancy, Dubai, United Arab Emirates. And I'm sure Dua will take us today through a future workforce of banking sector using AI. So I'm very excited. And then we have one more presenter also, Hectic Kopra Kanal from Oracle Dubai, United Arab Emirates, part of today's presentation. I hope I did not miss any names, Amar.
No, you've got all the names there for us.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Excellent. So I'll share my screen now. Just give me a minute. Sorry. Yeah.
Sure.
Now I'll just start with my session first, and then of course, do you see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen now for us.
I'll start with my session first, and then of course after that we'll go with my colleagues. That they will, I will hand over the mics to them to take us through their journey as well. So, today I'm gonna just, in a very high level, provides a quick overview of artificial intelligence in the banking and financial sector. And I'll give some statistics to show how the importance of artificial intelligence in the AI and the banking sector, and also what are the benefits and some of the successful use cases. And also, I would like to touch on some of the key, I would say, I don't want to call them obstacles, but what prevents, I would say, banks and financial sector from somehow deploying artificial intelligence. Then I'll just quickly put 3 recommendations from my reading and research. So, looking back at several years and decades, we know that the banks and the financial institutions has adopted a number of good latest technologies and innovations so they can interact with their customers and enhance the customer experiences and engagement. For example, looking in 1960s, we know that the first time when the banks started to introduce ATM machines, and then also in 1970s when they started providing electronic card-based payments. And then in 2000, when they started to adopt online and electronic banking. And those are all examples of how banks and financial institutions, they wanted to enhance their customer engagements and customer expectations and meet the customer demands that are changing and evolving as the technology change, as the new generations come in, So they started to provide 24/7 to their customers, and then they followed by a mobile banking that we can't live without it nowadays, where the number of visit to the physical branches totally changed because everybody can do many of the banking and financial services using these channels, the mobile banking. However, the game is still changing. Things are still changing with the new emerging technologies started to reshape, the sector. They started to change customer demands and customer expectations, especially keeping in mind that we have the Generation Z, the new generations with the high percentage of the youth. That's always puts a pressure on the financial and banking to get more demand of, getting different services and getting more closer to their customers through the different channels, digital channels. So AI, for example, is one of these technology have rapid advance in the sector and have led to a higher, automation when it is deployed, and of course, at the same time, would need lots of efforts to control the risks and also the skill sets in terms of how they could also, utilize the AI technology. But of course, it has improved, I mean, during the past couple of years. And also it has shown its success in terms of decision making in timely manner and with accuracy, I would say, better with better decision makers. Looking into looking into the McKinsey and Company reports that we see in the screen, the potential of annual value of AI and also analytics for the global banking could reach to hit $1 trillion as per their research that was done. So we can see that it is using comparing it to the traditional AI, and we are moving now to the advanced AI. We can see that there is a high potential in terms of annual value compared to others or compared to other areas. Also, in terms of the products and services and solutions that are AI powered, looking into also the Gartner report that was issued in 2020, the percentage of financial services, using new technologies, the highest is goes with the AI and machine learning. That's even beyond the data analytics, which include also the predictive analysis and other technologies. So that means AI, the financial products, services, solutions that are AI powered are increasingly becoming common, I would say, in the banking and financial services. Also looking into these figures that we can see the global and regional experiences, the use is increasing, and it is very being felt and seen across all line of businesses and not only banking and financial. So this is one of the reports that Gartner have issued through a CIO survey on artificial intelligence, and it is ranked on the top, of the game-changing technology in the financial services, ahead of different other technologies that we see them here on the left side. So all these statistics, all these results, it gives us a message that AI is no longer a wish list. AI is a necessity. It's need to you if you really want not to lose the competitive advantage in the market. It's become you need to be ahead of the game. You need to consider AI as one of the competitive advantage element. So if we look into the benefits in the sum of the banking and financial, it's AI have really enhanced the customer experiences. Because when we look, for example, in Oman and other countries, we can see that many, I would say, countries, the age distribution of their population is more of youth, is more of the Generation Z. So those people, they don't want really to visit the branch. They don't understand that I have to go to the branch to get my service. So they want things to be always available digitally. They are ready to trust robotic process automation compared to the previous generation. They are more accepting dealing with robots softwares in terms of getting some, for example, a wealth management advisors, and that's the robo advisory. So the adoption of artificial intelligence has caused a technology revolution in the banking and financial sector in the globe, and have resulted in many opportunities such as a new value proposition, smart decision, enhancing customer experiencing, and also in terms of how we can enhance the risk and the compliance. So it helps to provide 24/7 through chatbots and other virtual assistant solutions. So you don't have to no more longer long queues. Everything you bank related can be done while the customer is sitting at home. Handy, smooth timeline. Even the resolution become faster than before. And also AI have reshaped how banks can provide a personalized and customized different banking products, which help them to boost their revenue through customized and tailored sort of a services. Using machine learning it can help them to develop customized financial plans, investment plans, different offering, credit scoring, insured and more accurate. And this is one of the good example of it is the robo advisory, as I've explained. Also, AI has shown its success in the back end, at the middle operation and the back office also operation, not only for the front end that we feel it as an end customers. So there are some researchers have forecasted that the implementation of AI in the back office will help to reduce 22% of the operational expenses, or maybe even more. So the save come from where? It comes from automation. It comes from a smooth and quick customer service responses. Also, in terms of risk and compliance, it has good examples in terms of AML performing anti-money laundering checks effectively. But of course, there is always a risk side of it which need to be addressed. That you need the data, you need to maintain the data, you need to make sure that AI tools that are in place are competent enough. So using AI-enabled AML and machine learning will always help the banks, to reduce the sort of a false positive alerts. And as per the readings, it goes up to 80% of reduction of these false positive alerts. So in short, I would say the benefits are in lowering the cost through improving the efficiency through automation, reduction of errors rates, new opportunities, in terms of improving the ability to process and generate insight from huge data that all banks and financial institutions are maintaining. So looking into the use cases and according to the response from the financial services who responded to this AI organization survey that was done by Gartner, we can say that we have a top 10 use cases that are implemented across financial services through different drivers. So we have more of a customer satisfaction analysis, we have more of a customer review analytics, risk management, customer portfolio management, price optimization. So there are different use cases when it comes to the usage of AI in the banking and financial. Here are I would say six examples where AI have shown a really and a positive impact on these areas. Again, back to digitizing customer services, where it gives the organization 360-degree view of their customer expectations and the customer views and feedback. It helped the organization also to improve their understanding of their customers' needs with a fast time to value and of course maintaining the cost effectively. Anti-money laundering, as I told you, it improved the detection of more of a real time, enhance the detection rates, improve the adaptability to evolving any of these frauds patterns, and also reduce the false positive alerts, as I have said. In wealth advisory, we saw that a lot of organizations globally have introduced robo-advisory, where they can get these responses, using the AI and machine learning. Fraud detection also, in terms of analyzing the logs, the transactional information, customer data using this machine learning, have reduced a good amount or percentage of losses through faster and more accurate fraud prediction. And of course, at the end, it enhanced the customer satisfaction through having more accurate fraud detection. So again, we know that a lot of banks, a lot of tech companies spending billions, millions of dollars on the change of the game of AI in the sector. But we still see that some banks have success in this, but we still see some banks are having a reservation, or still there are some obstacles. And looking into the Gartner also report, we can see that there are, as per the survey that was done, we can see that those are the 6 top, I would say, barriers that stop organization from adopting AI. And one of them is lack of a clear strategy of AI. Unfortunately, many organizations, when they decide on building their corporate strategies, they don't look into AI as one of the important, or even other technology, emerging technology that has proven its success. The talent with appropriate skills is another problem. We know that we don't have the right skill sets in the market that match the needs of this, I would say, new technologies, not only AI, but many other as well. Also, the functional silos, there's constraints in terms of accepting the end-to-end AI solutions. And of course, other challenges that were, and then one important challenge, by the way, without data, AI will not give you the what is expected. So you need to have the right data in place, or at least as much as data you have in place in order to be able to get the best output of AI and machine learning. So in short, those are five, I would say, key uh, reasons behind the prevention, or let's say the barriers. So as I said, the lack of clear strategy, a weak or could be some outdated core technology that some financial and banking organization globally still using, outdating operating models. They have to really, change their operating models, absence of skill sets, and in some scenarios there are some regulatory barriers that could stop also the AI. So to conclude with some recommendation, I think organizations in the banking and financial sector should have a clear strategy for artificial intelligence through and before that they have to really understand what are the use cases they should focus in, what are the gaps and how these gaps can be filled in by using AI technology, and what problem they are going to resolve without compromising their security, their customer data, their I would say compliance and regulations. Of course, we can do this through collaboration between different stakeholders, technology providers, the banks and fintechs, the subject matter experts, and also the policymakers. So we can have the best output of it in terms of addressing the right technology, adopting the right technology, enabling it through the law and regulations. So this collaboration is an important. Otherwise, we may end up of, for example, having the business needs, having the technology, but we don't have the enablement in the regulation, or it can be vice versa. And finally, we need to make AI one of the key pillars in the corporate strategy operations to avoid the risk of being overtaken by the competition. And one of the important things is skill sets. So this is all from my side. I try just to be short as possible. Again, thank you very much. It is a great opportunity, and I'm sure my colleagues will be touching more in depth of these topics, and maybe even outside this context of my presentation. So now I would like to hand over the mic to Mr. Vivek for to present his topic. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
Shukran. Thank you, Faraz, for that very interesting insight. We appreciate it. And we will now like to move on to Mr. Vivek. Vivek, are you able to hear us?
Hello, Amar. Unfortunately, Vivek has not been able to join until now. So if you kindly introduce Abid to be the speaker.
Yes, sure. Okay. So in that case, we'd like to bring on Mr. Abid, who is the Director of Technology and Business Development at SmartGen Kuwait.
Hi, welcome everyone. Nice to see so many people virtually connected on the hottest topic of AI technologies in the banking and finance industry. What I would like to briefly describe or display is as a technology we are sharing with the financial and banking industry. It's called SmartBot. So I have a small presentation. If I'm able to, you guys can see my screen?
Yes, we can.
All right, great. So back in 2017, there was a conference that I attended in Mongolia. All the CIOs and CTOs were presented from the Eastern Asian region, around 30 plus, and we were discussing about the future of technology in the IT industry. I met a lady who was working with the Singapore Digital Bank, and she showed us that what Singapore Digital Bank is doing at that time, 3-4 years ago, was dealing with customer without human interaction. And they introduced a smart bot to customers where customers can open an account, do sort of advisory and many other banking things that were cashless transaction. So then we follow up with them with the Digital Bank of Singapore and develop a smart bot. This smart bot that we develop is a talking bot, and this talking bot can understand multi-language and can integrate with your banking applications. So let me show you here. Okay. So what is a smart bot? A smart bot can be shown as a virtual assistant, a fastest and smartest way. Back early before the mobile era, there the customer used to call the banks through a desktop telephone, and they had a receiver in their hand, and they had the desktop DTMF dial pad on their desk. So it was easy for the telebanking application or IVR for a customer to navigate the telebanking menus, because so easy. But then came the mobile, and then mobile allows customers to can interact with their banks while they are driving their cars or they are doing something or hands free. So it was very difficult, or I think it's very strange, while you are talking or listening to telebank menus, and then you are pressing the DTMF. So then naturally, the next thing was to enable a customer to navigate the banking application through their voice. So we introduced this smart bot, and the smart bot is a fastest way, can understand the natural language. So it's not a robotic language. The AI engine can understand the key words through the transaction. So for example, I will say, what is my balance? So the smart bot decipher the word balance and search the middleware for my balance, and so that voice to text happen at that time, and then the text goes to the search engine and bring back the record, and then the text to voice happen at that time, and the smart bot responds with their with my transactions. This smart bot can run on tablets or computers or websites. Uh, this is a natural language engine which understand the customer's need and also do recommendation, because the more the data I am dealing with, the smart bot is understanding me what we call 360-degree information of a customer. Why we are offering this, and this talking technology is becoming a consumer product. As you can see, Apple Siri, everybody is using Apple Siri to dial phone or other things. Amazon is proposing Alexa, Microsoft is pushing Cortana, Samsung Bixby, and Google Home. So all these things are now becoming a consumer product. So it's not that this is a technology where people will be staying away. As some of the people are mentioning, that AI is becoming the new electricity of current era. 100 years ago, when electricity was introduced to our world, people were shying away from electricity. They were not comfortable. Then came the normal consumable product. So AI is becoming the electricity of the current era. What a smart bot can do for any industry is it can reduce the cost, it can improve the brand image, it can increase the revenue. It's not only a financial institute, but any FMCG or any telecom sector can benefit from these smart bot. If we look at the technology back end of the smart bot, so the customers is coming through the various multi-channels, from chat, from voice, from video, face recognition, or the new IoT things. And then it goes into the back-end process of the platform, where, as I said, is NLU engine converting the natural language into a textual query, and then this query will send through the middleware decision engine, understanding what I am looking for, and then return the result with the NLG engine. And this natural language generator will generate my language, my accent, if I'm Kuwaiti accent or I'm using Egyptian accent. So this is decided by the input language dialogue. And all these things technically is happening in the back end with the speed of light. So the customer will not feel. There is a National Bank of Kuwait, they are using 500 customer officer, and now when this technology is happening, they have reduced 80% of their manpower, and only 20% is left to support if there is an error or overhead. So this is one of the example. A lot of I think in UAE, National Bank of Abu Dhabi is also using a smart bot sort of application to serve their customers, and internationally Bank of America, USA, Europe, a lot of industries are now very comfortable. Customers, consumers are very comfortable with their with these technologies. So as I said, Siri, Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Bixby, all these bringing consumerable understanding of customers. Once again, some of the benefit that I mentioned: increase in satisfaction, call deflection rate has been reduced, quick transaction execution, um, core services that any smart bot can offer is to a financial institute is account related services, product information, service deactivation, activation, like my credit card is lost, I can quickly call the smart or use the smart bot to deactivate my credit card or stop a check. SmartBot can be used to do a cross selling or a new selling. If I'm using a banking product, SmartBot can check my data and offer me a new service or a new product. Also, with the new voice biometric services, my voice is becoming my password. So my voice print is just like a fingerprint, and this voice print analysis can allow the system security to analyze my phrase and my voice signal that is I am the right person. So voice biometric verification process is a very faster and secure. Kuwait Central Bank is looking at approving this technology. Also with the multiple way input of GPRS location and device IMZ. So there are so many variables that can be integrated together to make it a secure, accessible. These are the examples, as I was mentioning, the banks and financial services globally who are using the AI-based smart bots. Erica Bank, Bank of America introduced a smart bot called Erica. LI Assistant, Bank USA, RBS Bank of Scotland, Hong Kong, I mean India, State Bank of India allows SIA, SIBA, Australian Bank, so Sweden, all over the world. This is, I think, last year data. So if I go through the new current data, probably this has gone 8 times more. Also, as I mentioned, these smart AI-based engine is also supporting the airline industry, where they have introduced smart bots to deal with customer, consumer on via KLM airline. This is a small example of the smart bot because it's a virtual thing. So a mobile interface is very important for consumer to adapt it. So this is one of our example version that we introduced. A smart bot app will allow to access the customer using the different type of security. And then the customer can do a lot of things. They can ask what are the top 5 movies, what are the top 5 restaurants, sort of social networking integration with their app, also enable them to become comfortable with their smart bot. Sometimes you can allow a consumer to do the text chat. So the text chat is also the part of the AI engine to understand the queries and response to the customer. Some built-in backend MIS engine allows bank to understand how the consumer are interacting with the system. And this is just a small thing, and that's it. Thank you very much. Any questions? I'm available.
Sure, thank you for that, Mr. Abid. I think the questions we can take all together at the end. So if the delegates save your questions or write them down, we can have a discussion at the end of all the speakers' talks. So then we would like to bring on the next speaker. Sorry, just give me a second. Yes, so we'd like to now bring on Dr. Anil Kumar.
Thank you, sir. Thank you first of all, for COMEX for giving me the opportunity to present my study here. I'm going to screen share now. Screen share. So are my PPTs screen share? Are they visible now, PPTs?
Yeah.
Yes, now it is.
So thank
Can you make it on present slide, Dr. Anil?
you
There is
for once again COMEX for giving me the
yes, slideshow.
yeah. Now it is okay.
It hasn't opened up in the slideshow option. Can you try it one more
Now?
time?
Yes.
Now. Yeah.
So thank you for giving me the opportunity. I'm going to speak about artificial intelligence in the BFSI industry, and specifically I have done a case study. I'm going to publish it soon. So I've done some studies. I've conducted some research questionnaire I've prepared, and I've done a case study on one of the banks in the India. It's one of the largest banks in India. So first I will go to the basics. So let's define A in the context of, so if a machine were to perform a task or process, would you consider the machine to possess intelligence? It's one of the question I pose. Also, artificial intelligence can involve machine learning, natural language processing, and knowledge representation. There are many applications of AI research in these areas. So some stats, the 38% of firms already use AI in some capacity. So you may know all these usual suspects. Correct impact, I would like to say, is industry changes. So leading financial institutions have started hiring AI officers. Like there's CEO, there is uh, CFO. So there are some vacancies like Chief AI Officer. What is the role of these officers? They invest in AI labs and incubation. Also, AI powered banking bots are a commonplace now in the industry. Intelligent personal investment products are available at a large scale. Starting in 2019, the CFA exam will have an AI section. So that's really a good thing. Estimated that companies will spend around 12.5 billion on AI technology software in 2017. So these are very outdated 2017 figures. So I think now this 12.5 billion would have been doubled or quadrupled. Many firms are building custom in-house solutions, so they are developing in-house solutions rather than outsourcing them. Some of the success stories in AI in BFSI, some of these success stories is JP Morgan Chase deployed AI for document processing. These hedge funds are using AI to detect acquisitions from humanly impossible market changes. So, and top 3 credit agencies implemented AI for risk assessment. So, what does the future hold? So, finance jobs and functions. So, potential for AI growth and potential for human growth. They go hand in hand. So, for potential for AI growth, intercompany reconciliations, there is quarterly close and earning reportings, financial analysis and reporting. So these are all these the accounting department used to do. Now AI has been outsourced. For human growth, business strategy and planning, financial engineering, financial data science, financial operations and analytics, and last but not the least, fintech. Fintech is a mixture of technology which is used in finance, is known basically as fintech. The slide, there is layer number 1, client onboarding, then comes sales, trading, and in operations you have trade capture, then clearing corporation. You clear the deals, then you settle. There is a settlement wing and compliance wing. They do these kind of things like trade risk management, maintain profit or loss. They report also, and they also comply, control and compliance. Also, I will rush to the slides. So I will. So, banking, a case study about the introduction of a virtual assistant into customer service. So, you may have heard of, the previous speaker was very insightful when he said that they have developed some chat box. So, to give a human interface, we have this virtual assistant. So, there is a pop-up displaying. In some scenario, it is related to chat box, but I will tell you how it is not related to chat box. So the usage of
Dr. Anil, it's
artificial
Amar here.
intelligence in banking is.
Dr. Anil, it's
Let me
Amar here. Your
Okay.
connection seems to be cutting a little bit, seems to be delayed. Could you turn your camera off? It
Okay,
might.
so I will stop my video.
Yes.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah. I'll
Go
stop my
ahead.
video.
Yeah.
So the usage of artificial intelligence in banking is an important theme within entrepreneurship. Of this, my study was to analyze the motivation, challenges, and opportunities for Indian banking institutes to implement artificial intelligence based solutions into their customer service process. So it's all easy to say AI ML, but when you need to get down at things, it's very difficult. So for further understanding the managerial motivation of Indian banks, there is a theory by Moore. He said in 2008, which says that innovation management was applied. So the findings display that the virtual assistant device improved the service spectrum of the Indian bank. In this case, it is ICICI, with the potential of decreasing cost while maintaining customer satisfaction. So that part of this development and the banking sector is hereby deemed to see a major impact. According to this report of Accenture, global management consulting firm, AI is going to revolutionize banking forward. The report suggests artificial intelligence will affect banking by enhancing the customer experience. Banking products and services may become more increasingly personalized, so giving customers the impression that the banking institutes know their specific habits, their needs, wants, desires. This is said in the report of Accenture in 2016. What is a research question I did? So my intention of the research question was to frame the present knowledge gap between the banking sector regarding the usage of artificial intelligence technologies. The first research question addresses specifically the research problem by investigating the case study of ICICI Bank. The second question was, what are the challenges and opportunities for banking institutes to implement artificial intelligence technologies solutions into their customer service? Have been used in paper thesis, which are described shortly. It refers to simulated
Sorry, Dr. Anil, it seems
intelligence in machines.
to be cutting quite a lot. We're not able to really keep up with the presentation. I'm thinking if it's okay in that case, if we can move on to the next speaker, and at the end, maybe we can see if our connection is stable. We can then come back to you. I hope that's okay. So in that case, if we can move on to the next speaker, I would like to introduce Mrs. Dua Al-Toubi, who is the who works at Cornerstone Consultancy in Dubai, UAE.
Good morning, Amr. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. So I'm just going to share my screen. Just let me know once it's visible.
Sure. Yes, it's visible now.
Okay, great. So first of all, I just wanted to do a big thank you to Amr and the COMEX team for creating a platform where, you know, Omani nationals such as myself that are not based in Oman can actually participate and you know, be part of such events in Oman. So it's I'm very humbled and grateful for this opportunity. So thank you very much. Secondly, I just want to introduce why I'm talking about this subject. Who am I? What do I do? How did I even come into this subject? So prior to joining the banking sector, my career actually started in the aviation industry, looking at strategic initiatives, turnaround and improvement projects, specifically around mergers and acquisitions. I've been fortunate enough to... Sorry?
No, I think you can go ahead. You can go ahead.
Okay, I've been fortunate enough to be part of 3 mergers, 2 in the aviation industry, 1 in Switzerland, and most recently the UAE's first 3-way banking merger in Abu Dhabi. So in parallel to that, I am also the first Khaliji national to graduate from the first digital transformation executive master's program offered by IE University in Spain, which comes in very handy because after the merger, my bank actually took a strategic redirection to become a Sharia compliant digital bank, somewhere between a bank and a technology company. So my current role in the bank is people and culture lead, looking at everything technology transformation and specifically people, right? Further to that, I'm actually doing my doctorate's research on nationalization in the GCC banking industry as a result of digital transformation. And through an organization called Cornerstone Consulting, I lend my expertise to some of the executives within the region to look at some of their toughest talent challenges that we're currently facing. This one of the talent challenges, the ones that we're talking about right here today. So ladies and gentlemen, my objective here is not to give you my own perspective. What I'm going to be doing is sharing with you what the data says around artificial intelligence actually disrupting the banking industry, and then looking at what that means for the workforce of the banking sector of Oman. Okay, so starting off, what does the data actually say? So the World Economic Forum actually says that even before COVID-19, the rise of automation and new technologies was transforming the world of work, resulting in a large-scale need for upskilling and reskilling, okay? Further to that, it's said even this year that half of all employees around the world will need reskilling by 2025. That number doesn't even include the people who are currently not in employment. Okay, now you'll probably say, okay, Dara, this is globally. Let's bring it closer to home. What does that mean for the Khalij? 45% of our existing workforce activities in the GCC labor market are potentially automatable today, which cuts across both public and private sector. Right. And for banking specifically, the World Economic Forum also says that 55% of the financial sector workforce will need to upgrade their skill sets to satisfy the current changing demands and functionalities. Right. Now, when we look at technologies such as artificial intelligence, one thing we do know that it is just the glue, right? It's almost a prerequisite to be able to leverage other technologies such as your cybersecurity, your Internet of Things, your big data, the natural language processing, and APIs if we're talking about an open banking platform. But if we look at just AI specifically, right? If I think about just my own bank and where AI will significantly impact our employees, looking at just the front office operations, the call center, the customer relationship teams, that number is actually huge, in the hundreds, if not thousands for some larger banks, of their employees. And what does that mean for those employees? Does that mean that their jobs just disappear? So then that brings me to the key question that we have to ask whenever we talk about artificial intelligence, which is the whole debate around, will machines take human jobs, right? And the answer is yes. It's actually been happening for a long time. It's been one of the oldest things. As the minute a new technology comes about, even the car, getting rid of the horses and carriage, it's been disrupting jobs and eliminating jobs, right? So what does that mean for AI and for the technology disruption? So it's estimated that 85 million jobs will be displaced as a shift of the division of labor between humans and machines, excuse me. However, 97 million new roles will come out of this, right? Now, let's just take a minute and look at what this actually means. Right, given that Oman is 50 years old, let's analyze our jobs. At least half of those jobs that exist today existed 30 years ago. So then we need to look at how many jobs are actually repetitive, right? If the answer is yes, a lot of jobs are repetitive, then it actually becomes a design issue. The problem is not technology at all. The problem is that we are employing people in poorly designed jobs, right? So then we have to shift the conversation and change the conversation. The question becomes, how do we create better designed jobs that coexist and leverage technology? Firstly, we do that by segregating the difference and understanding the difference between human intelligence and artificial intelligence, right? And this is where we get to what Accenture calls the missing middle, where we collaborate humans and machines. So humans, we have empathy, we care, we are strategic, we are innovative, we are creative, we can lead, we can come up with new solutions, we're agile, right? What do machines do best? Machines can do the same thing over and over again, 1,000 times in 100 minutes without getting tired. They don't have any biological needs, right? So we really need to create teams of work that actually use humans and machines and then redesign our jobs. So this is actually supported by the data from the World Economic Forum. And this is a study out of their latest Future of Jobs report that looks at the actual skills that machines and humans will undertake by 2025, right? So I'd like to bring your attention to the last three: communicating, interacting, reasoning and decision-making, coordinating and advising. These are where by 2025, there'll actually be more humans in these jobs than machines. So that tells us that this is where we need to be designing the future jobs and the future workforce. So let's look at the trade-off, right? Banking jobs are likely to be displaced by technology. Now, Accenture says that currently, this is today, in jobs in North America that are currently displaced by artificial intelligence. These jobs, at least 50% of them at the moment, just using technology alone, their skills are no longer utilized, right? So when you actually add augmentation plus artificial intelligence, then it actually goes over 50% of these roles actually being, depleted. So then let's actually look at the new jobs created by emerging technologies. So it's actually 3 times more than the jobs being displaced, So we need roles like your data scientists. These are the people that actually understand the data patterns and can build the data models. Your machine educators. Now, this is one of the most pivotal roles because these are the people who can actually program and prime artificial intelligence with machine learnings. And this is where we need as much diversity as possible in order to eliminate bias from the finance application process, who gets a loan, who doesn't get a loan, who's liable for credit. Just how we used to say in IT, garbage in, garbage out, it's the same, bias in, bias out. So these are really the roles where we need to build up our skills and build up the capabilities to ensure that Omanis actually are in these roles as diverse as possible. You're old, you're young, you're male, you're women, just to make sure everyone's accounted for. Behavioral psychologists. Now, this is a role that didn't actually exist in the banking sector, right? Behavioral psychologists, these are the people that actually analyze your customers' behaviors and analyze how your customer behaviors actually change as the world becomes more digital. They look at what triggers them to spend, what triggers them to save, and it analyzes their data across a multitude of platforms, your Instagram, your Snapchats, and whatever other social media platforms come about. And then they'll take that data and they'll feed it into your experienced designers who will then identify your customer journeys based off of your new products. So this is how we know that there is actually a massive trade-off between the jobs that we are losing as opposed to the jobs that we're creating. Now, how do we evolve, right? So we know that operational roles become insight-driven roles, mono-skilled roles actually become multi-skilled roles, generalists become specialized, and technology become creative roles. So you start by actually assessing the task, not the person, not the job, but you assess the skills needed. You identify the tasks and allocate them to either humans or machines, okay? Following that, you create new roles around those new tasks. You go beyond functional jobs, specialized, and you look at insight-driven or multi-skilled roles, and you really map them to, okay, this could actually be a job, right? And then you map the skills needed for humans to actually take those jobs. So you look at, where we are probably lacking, and then you create an upskilling program around that. So in context, you're probably like, okay, Dara, we're in Oman, we have 95% Omanization rate, what can we do with this knowledge and how can we prepare our future banking sector? So the number one is very easy. Stop hiring bankers. You have enough bankers, right? So stop hiring bankers, really leverage education, look at the people that have the skill sets of tomorrow. Partner with fintechs and embed your people in the transformation. So a lot of the successful now digital organizations in Spain and other parts of Europe, that they decided that, okay, we need to transform and become digital, but we also have a legacy bank to manage. We still need to keep the lights on. We still need to have people, servicing our existing customers. We still have our existing products. What do? They would then go off and partner with fintechs or create joint ventures with technology company that take their best people and embed them in the actual transformation, right? And then that way you create a knowledge sharing platform even within your legacy bank and make sure that information gets passed down. The third one, like we talked about in the last slide, is reimagining your work, right? Reimagining how your new ways of working will actually be, taking into account technology and humans, and then redesigning your jobs around that for human plus machine teams. And then the most important one is upskilling and reskilling your workforce. So one of the key differentiators, and I think one of the main advantages that Oman has, in the UAE, job security isn't a given, right? So whenever we talk about assessments, training and development, remapping skills, people automatically get a culture of fear because they're terrified that they're going to lose their jobs. In Oman, however, I think you're in a great position not to go through this fear because Omanization means that, your employees are largely secure. The loss of jobs isn't as prevalent as it is here. So just having that comfort and just embedding your employees with that comfort, like, hey, look, you're not losing your job. We're just looking at new ways of doing things. We're going to re-educate you, give you the skills to be the workforce of tomorrow. That's really a key advantage that Oman has that most of the GCC doesn't have as much as Oman does, right? And one more that I didn't include on here is the central bank. Mr. Faraz talked about it in his first presentation, but the central bank can really drive this change by partnering up with universities and creating programs of work, degrees for the future of the Oman banking workforce, and creating that knowledge, that ability to kind of create the workforce of the future while the existing workforce needs to go through this transformation. So with that, I leave you, everyone, and thank you very much.
Thank you for that, Dua. That was really, really great. You delivered that really well. And I'm sure that I think a lot of things that you've said has been discussed, but I think you put it in a really good way. So I'm sure that will be part of the conversation a little bit later on. So we would like to now bring on the next speaker, who is Hatis from Oracle, who will be talking about data-driven financial services, changing the game with AI.
Okay, great. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Hatis, yes, loud and clear.
Okay, thank you very much for your time and attending this session. My name is Hatice Kubra. Sorry for the confusion in the name. It is an Arabic name with a Turkish accent. So my name is Hatice Kubra, and I'm the EMEA Data Science Leader at Oracle. I have been working for many different data science projects for the last 12 years. And for the last 7 years, I have been managing different departments and practices about data, big data, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and data science. And most of the time, I was focused on financial services industry. So today, I just would like to share our experiences from FSI perspective, how data can be utilized in different areas and how we can use data to create a competitive advantage with new generation AI projects. So we all know that new world requires financial services companies to be data-driven, from mining interaction data to gathering customer and product expectations. It's obvious that the term data-driven is not a new concept. So as a financial services company, you have applied statistical analysis for many years to achieve better products and services. This definition of data-driven has evolved to include some customer preferences and values, especially when it comes to how customers prefer your bank. So customers expect a financial services company to remember their preferences, their engagement history, and their behaviors, so personalized experiences can be delivered. To achieve a competitive advantage, companies must break down the silos of customer data and effectively extract and leverage their insights to meet some customer needs. Of course, we know that there's a huge explosion in data sources combined with technological advancements and improvements, especially in data science area. And it created both some challenges and opportunities for financial services companies. The challenge lies in managing the vast amount of data, and the opportunity is gain some deeper customer insights from your data. So financial services companies utilizing advanced data analytics are, of course, more successful to shift from simple process improvements to building some new business models and making innovative decisions. But today, most of the financial services organizations are struggling with using the true potential of data. The main key issues that we are observing from different customers is, first of all, managing the different data in different silos, acquiring new data from internal as well as your external systems, and translating this data into insights and actions. For new generation finance organizations, transactional data is no longer the core responsibility. Successful finance teams have been operating as a strategic business partner, so bringing data-driven insights using some advanced analytics and predictive analytics techniques. So mainly, now it is the time to evolve your analytical capabilities from descriptive to predictive insights by aligning objectives with your enterprise strategy. And compared to yesterday's business, today you are using your data to change your business rather than running your business as a financial organization. And obviously, the key enablers for this shift are analytics, cloud, and artificial intelligence-based systems. And we will talk about them very briefly in today's small presentation. This is a very interesting survey. According to Economic Intelligence survey, 66% of industry leaders believe new technology trends will have the biggest impacts on banks by 2025. Banks are accelerating their investment into innovation to leverage new opportunities provided through cloud, data, AI, ML, and digital assistants. It is very encouraging to see that when you look at the survey results, AI, machine learning, blockchain, IoT, and other new technologies are #1 for industry leaders in financial services. This is very obvious that there's a shift towards directing the budget to value creation with AI rather than your maintenance activities. We are talking about AI, but what do we really mean by a AI-driven finance organization? Well, today we know that the banks would like to modernize their business with AI-enabled technologies. The question is, what do we really mean by that? I'm sure you'll hear these terminologies, AI, machine learning, deep learning, and data science for a very long time. And people use these terms interchangeably in general. But I think this diagram is a very good conceptual explanation to differentiate these three terms. AI is a very broad term, and this is why most of the banks claim that their products is an AI product. When we look at the ways of putting AI into work, it comes to machine learning and deep learning. Machine learning is the engine of AI, and it's the brain that makes all those technologies more intelligent. Deep learning, it's a specific type of machine learning algorithm, which is more suitable for more complex business problems and which requires more data and computing power. Data science is the process which creates the insights from data using the machine learning models. And as Oracle, we have been investing in these technologies for a very long time. And today we will talk about the methods and technologies to put AI into work. When we talk about machine learning and data science, there are a lot of use cases. And most of these use cases in financial industry, they are not new. But today, we have been implementing some old use cases with different approaches to make them more usable and more strong for your business needs. For example, to assess credit risk. Credit scoring is one of the top use cases in all the banks. Banking is all about credit scoring. To assess credit risk, banks are looking at a number of variables, such as their clients' profitability, liquidity ratio, for example, historical loan payments, credit card payments, and so on. With traditional methods, these variables were a part of human written formula to calculate your customer's credit risk. But today, machine learning can learn from this data without requiring any rule-based programming. As a result, predictions match your real-world patterns, mainly paying on time versus not paying on time, much more better. Or, for example, fraud detection is one of the hottest machine learning use cases, which means that identifying and preventing some fraudulent transactions, and it really requires sophisticated solutions which can analyze your high volume data. Or, for example, customer experience related machine learning and data science cases. The ability to make predictions based on past behaviors, it is very fundamental to any successful marketing effort for a bank. Today, with the help of new technologies, we can analyze web activities, mobile application usages, and response to previous advertisement companies. And using advanced machine learning software, we can predict the effectiveness of your marketing strategy in real time. So, as I mentioned, these machine learning use cases are not new, but with the help of new technologies, with the help of open source AI machine learning tools, we can build these models in a much more better way. Well, it is very important to be an intelligent and integral bank today. With the marriage of data and intelligence, it gives the banks some game-changing opportunities as well as some threats at the same time. So what do we mean by that? Today, my friends, my colleagues talk about some robotic process automation projects as a part of AI, for example. If you want to use AI to augment your employees in different departments with improved data and AI-equipped technologies, it helps you to make some intelligent customer interactions, or it helps you to gain some advantage in the competitive world. But on the other side of the coin, machine learning also enables some other autonomous systems like robotic process automation. And it helps you to reduce all the manual tasks and all the time-consuming tasks in your bank. But unfortunately, it helps you to decrease your human resources as well. So as human beings, we always see some threats in artificial intelligence with advantages as well. Also, it is very important to be an integral bank because you need to understand your customers and prospects' activities and behaviors in every channel across their whole journey today. All customers want you to develop a single comprehensive view using not only your own data, but also all second-party and third-party data. And by doing this, you can see the value of your customers and how you should be approaching them in terms of approaching from the best channel, best time, and so on. This is a very important aspect of AI and machine learning projects in most of the banks. Well, data is the cornerstone of the banks in digital transformation. So the whole point is to creating value from using your bank's data. As soon as you start taking a customer-centric view, the traditional limitations of a legacy SEO business can change using different data sources. So the key enablers for a successful machine learning and AI project is bringing as much data as possible, creating a true customer 360 profile. This is an enabler for your AI project. This is not a use case, because to build all customer-based AI project as a bank, you need to have a good customer 360 view. And also using advanced analytics and machine learning techniques for better personalized customer treatment. Well, There are some very important trends we have been hearing from our FSI customers in EMEA region, especially if you just started your machine learning journey. There are some important points that you need to consider in data science and machine learning work. For example, data discovery. You should be able to take data from any source, explore them, and collaborate with your real-time data. Or you should have a single version of truth, which means that at the end of the day, the model, machine learning model that you created, it should be a trustworthy model. Or another important thing, data democratization. When you really want to start an AI ML journey, different departments should have an analytics playground to get maximum benefit from data. So most of the AI machine learning projects, the results should be consumed by different departments in your banking organization. So you need to be very democratic while you are building this machine learning environment. AutoML is one of the very important topics. It is the process of automating the tasks of applying machine learning to your real-world problems. And of course, the flexibility of open sources. I'm sure if you started your machine learning data science journey as a bank, you are considering a lot of open source technologies. It is very important, very good, because open source is changing the world today. But as Oracle, we also support open source technologies in data science and AI in an enterprise way. So flexibility of open source is very important, but it is also very important to get an enterprise support from a vendor as well. So I'm sure also you have some challenges in machine learning and AI work. From our experience in working with different customers, different banking customers on their digital transformation journey, we see that there are some key challenges that you need to consider and solve. First of all, access to data. As we mentioned, machine learning cannot happen without data. And with data siloed across different data management systems in different data centers, often controlled by different business units, it can be a very big challenge to find your data and make it available to your data practitioners and your data scientists. Complex life cycles, the process involved in building machine learning models is often very complex and time-consuming because it requires access to right tools and right infrastructure. And operationalizing machine learning is also a very big challenge as well, because to achieve the ROI of a machine learning and AI project, it is not enough to just build some machine learning models. Those models must be put into production. And thinking that banks are very complicated organizations, they have very complicated systems, infrastructure, integration problems, it is very important to consider that your machine learning models should be put into production very easily. So another important challenge is human players. Today, we didn't talk about human players a lot in this presentation, but human players also have a very significant role for successful AI and machine learning projects. So when you are building a machine learning AI team, you should consider different roles such as citizen data scientists, expert data scientists, business analysts, and the developers who will put your AI projects into production at the same time. So your organization should be built considering an end-to-end AI and machine learning lifecycle. So very briefly, as Oracle, what is our investment in AI and machine learning area? As Oracle, we provide some ready-to-go AI environments, AI applications. We have an application layer which are ready to be used with your data, like HR applications, like supply chain applications, CX applications. All of the machine learning models are pre-built on our applications depending your business. Also, we have data science and AI technologies, including data management, analytics, and data science layers together. If you would like to create your use cases with your industry expertise by yourself, you can go on with an open environment with Oracle as well. Finally, 2 years back, we put AI into our technology products as well. As you know, Oracle is a very strong database vendor. We have a huge market share in database world, and we made our database an AI-driven database. What do you mean by that? What do we mean by that? We have an autonomous database, which is eliminating the complexities of operating any data warehouse. So if you need any human work for patching your database, securing your data, developing some data-driven applications, our new AI-driven data systems are doing this by themselves. So from application perspective, from our own products perspective and technology perspective, we are providing an end-to-end data science and machine learning platform to our customers. How do we partner with our customers in AI world? As we mentioned, AI is still very new and we do a lot of experiments with our customers. So we have a regional artificial intelligence team, which is focusing on partnership with our customers for specific projects. These teams are including data science directors and experts like me, industry experts from FSI perspective, and also innovation advisors to bring new AI machine learning use cases to our customers. We are working together with your teams to build an end-to-end AI lifecycle, and we are also helping to repeat this success in your coming AI projects as well. So it is not an IT-driven approach, it's a business value-driven approach by Oracle to ensure that your AI projects are going live successfully. This is very short summary from my side. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, we can go.
Thank you very much, Khadija, for that presentation. That was very, very interesting. Before we move on to the Q&A, I just wanted to see, I don't see Mr. Vivek has returned, so I don't think he's been able to join. Sadiq, has he been in touch? Or should we move on to the Q&A session? Okay, then I think we can move on to the Q&A. If anyone has any questions, feel free to send them through onto the Q&A chat where we can put these to the panel. While we wait for these questions to come through, maybe I can ask a couple of questions that I have. Dura, you were mentioning that the banking and finance industry should partner with fintechs. I wanted to know, are they partnering with fintechs? And if not, why not?
Yes, that's a very good question. So they should partner with fintechs because one thing that fintechs have is that they're born agile, they're born digital. They kind of have innovation ingrained in their culture, right? They do the sprint cycles and the design thinking with all of their products, whereas banks are very legacy. Even though banks want to become more customer centric, with such legacy structures, they struggle to actually to change that very quickly, right? So fintechs actually have that culture, they have that knowledge, they have that innovation, and banks should really leverage that. Now, banks are scared of fintechs because fintechs are also their competitors, right? But I think strategic partnerships are very, very important. If you can leverage fintechs to kind of produce some of your products or produce an element of your strategy or a platform for you, then there's an instant kind of knowledge sharing, but there's also an instant kind of sharing of customers and target markets. One thing that fintechs don't have is they don't have the scale and they don't have the deep pockets either, right? And they don't have that access to that, you know, the millions of customers that banks do. So it's really a win-win situation for banks and fintechs to partner together. Yes, a lot of banks and fintechs are actually partnering up at the moment. Our own bank has discussed several potential partnerships with several fintechs, even just to get ideas and to understand how certain products are generated. You know, it's a really good source of knowledge.
Thanks for that. So like you said, they really need to embrace fintechs and understand that it is the future and they don't have to see them as competition. Is there a fear about the kind of sensitive data that's being shared, and are fintechs able to show that this fear shouldn't be there?
There should be some sort of agreements in place and some legal agreements in place to discuss how that data is actually disclosed and what access one another would have. And that really depends on the type of partnership they're going into. If it's purely just an educational partnership, then no data should be disclosed. However, if you're using the fintech to create your products, and they would need access to your customer base, your data, and then that should really be kind of a one-way agreement, right? So then it's just between you and that fintech, and then the specifics of that agreement should be kind of disclosed and agreed, and should be legally binding as well.
Okay, thank you. There's a related question from Hirian Borade, who has asked, how are Omani banks adopting fintechs? What is the partnership level and specific banks who are embracing fintechs? So again, I think that is probably mostly linked to you, Dua, or anyone else, of course. If you have an answer to that, please do chip in.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not the right person to answer that question, as
okay.
I can talk about the UAE and the banks that here are partnering with fintechs. However, I don't have the visibility in Oman, unfortunately.
Maybe you can just talk briefly about the UAE in that case.
Yes, so without disclosing too much, I think in the UAE, when our merger happened, we were a total of 57 banks in the UAE, right? And that's international and local banks. So the UAE's really had to consolidate the market, consolidate a lot of banks to kind of gain market share in that. Also, the UAE, 66% of the population is actually classed as youth. So a lot of them are your millennials that are looking to bank on their phones, right? So with that, there have been a lot of partnerships, even if they're not disclosed, a lot of, I guess, trips to Silicon Valley, to the UK, to Europe, just to understand how fintechs operate, what do their back office processes look like when it comes to onboarding a digital project or a digital customer. So there is a lot of that knowledge sharing happening in the UAE, and that's why your banks like your ENBD are moving very quickly when it comes to the digital space. You know, they also bring in a lot of this, the talent from your Revoluts, your Monzos. They're actually attracting this talent to come and work for these organizations here in the UAE. You know, banks like Mashreq and ENBD are kind of leading in this space at the moment.
Thanks for that. Any of the other speakers want to respond to this question as well, regarding how the partnership levels like, and which kind of banks are involved? Otherwise, I can move on to the next question. I'm just doing this in order of who's coming first. So there's a question here from Shyam Koluru for Abid Butt. How to partner with your company to launch bot technology in Oman?
Yes, thank you. Nice question. We are based in UAE, Dubai, and our regional office can be connected through that office. I am sending my contact card on the chat window. on my LinkedIn, my Skype ID. So please, you are most welcome to contact me anytime via mobile, via LinkedIn, via WhatsApp or email. And we are looking for exploring the exciting Oman market, especially after the successful completion of COMEX AI conference. There will be a potential spike. So we are welcoming any local partner to partner with us and see, because we are based in Dubai and we have partners in Sudan, in Oman, in Kuwait. Oman will be a very exciting place for us. Thank you very much.
Thanks for that, Abid. Before I go into my next question, Anil, we had a few issues before. I'm not sure if you've managed to fix the connection from your side. Is there any more comments you want to add, Anil? Sorry to cut you off earlier.
Yes. So I just wanted to, like, I studied this ICICI Bank, which is one of the major banks in the country, India. And what we did is we in partnership with the ICICI Bank developed a virtual assistant, which which was far better and worked far better than its counterparts like the State Bank of India. Also, we found that chat box and virtual assistants, people say that they are the same, but we found out that virtual assistants are more customer prone friendly when compared to their proxies or counterparts like chatbox. That's what to say. And about this fintech and banks, so in India, I can say that these are competitors. So major banks like SBI and ICICI, they don't like to partnership with the fintech technology companies. They see them fintech technology companies as uh, unwanted, and they don't want to do. But I think down the line, 5 years down the line, after this COVID crisis, I think fintech companies have done a lot of service than the brick and mortar banking. Thank you.
Thank you, Anil, for that. So the next question here, again from Hirian. Have fintechs and banks truly become collaborators, or is there still a sense of competition, especially in relatively smaller population GCC economies? Will COVID pandemic accelerate the relationship? This is open to any speaker. Feel free to respond to this.
So I'll take this one. So in the GCC, I'm not sure about the rest of the GCC, but in the UAE specifically, no one can offer financial services other than banks or anyone that has a banking license. So fintechs don't really have a way into this market currently, except through banks. Now, when the central banks start opening up the community to fintechs to kind of go directly at customers to open bank accounts, then it will definitely be a competitive arena for both banks and fintechs. However, at the moment, it's just banks. So fintechs have to really, partner with banks to get part of that market.
And do you think the COVID pandemic has accelerated this relationship?
Yes, so I think COVID pandemic is changed the way everyone has done business. We're all here today together because of the COVID pandemic. So I think we're going to see a lot of change very quickly in this market now. I think the central banks aren't as reserved as they were prior to the pandemic, because now we've seen we've seen a necessity for a lot of our services to go onto digital channels, right? So we know it can be done, we know it's the future, and we know it's what people want. So I think it will change very quickly.
If our delegates prefer to ask a question on video rather than typing it out, they just need to raise their hand and we can add them to the panel. So I'll move on to the next question, which is a good presentation by Madame Dua. We would like to launch some training in IT support with your Cornerstone Consulting AI plus human. Please advise how to explore.
Okay, so our website is cornerstoneconsultancy.org. I'm also available on LinkedIn. I think I'm linked to this specific presentation, so I'll be happy to connect with you on LinkedIn. Thank you.
Thank you. Then I think this is from the comics team. I'm not able to see it properly, but are banks worried of fintech companies' rise that will be left with employees and no traditional work to do? I think this relates again to the question about what is the relationship between banks and fintech. But I think the points that Dua mentioned about kind of how we need to leverage the use of AI and change the skill set so that we're able to lead, teams of machines. Anyway, that's how I see it. Unless anyone else wants to comment on that question there. I also have a question, which is in terms of the customer experience with AI, with fintech. What has the feedback been in terms of? I know it's been mentioned that the new generation prefers machines and AI, and I think going forward, the amount of people who prefer dealing with humans when it comes to these kind of services will probably reduce. But are we still going through that transition phase, and is there still a lot of learning happening? Are customers getting frustrated maybe with some of the early development of AI in services? Generally, what has the customer experience been with this new technology in banking and finance? Customer, as in, I mean end user, by the way. The floor is open for any of our speakers. Feel free to answer.
So I'll answer that in Indian context. So generally, the millennials are prone to, they don't want to go to this brick and mortar bank. So they just want to have mobile banking or other solutions which can be, hassle free. So it depends on, which age group you cater to. So the older generation, all now they prefer to go in the bank branch because there is an atmosphere of there is a personal connect touch. But COVID has replaced that. So now even the old people, they don't want to in India, because India is COVID is very horrifying. So I believe after COVID you will see that there will be less of brick and mortar and more of AI and ML. All these applications will be more when compared to, there will be a pre-COVID era and a post-COVID era, and post-COVID would be more AI beneficial to the banking sector in India.
Thank you, Dr. Anil. There's a question here about AI, machine learning, robotics are being pushed by solution providers for making process easier, but how do banks look at them as solution providers or partners to actually get OPEX cost reductions and improve business revenue? Any comments on this?
Yes, the experience we had from one of the largest bank in Kuwait, NBK, is that there is a process of change management and force resistance. So yes, there is a resistance, but as the new generation is coming on and they are mobile savvy, they prefer to have the new technology in their palm and do the business. So both sides, customers and in-house banking staff, they are getting comfortable. So my thought will be from last 3 years, the resistance from 80% is now reduced to 40%. This is my analysis. Thank you.
Thank you, Abid. So there's a lot of cost-saving opportunities when it comes to this technology. And how is tech targeting Gen Z, especially P2P banking, open banking? Is this a factor in GCC economies?
So just to add to what I said earlier about the UAE, they really are targeting the millennials, and Generation Z freelancers and business owners by introducing products catered to like businesses and freelancers and the gig economy, people that work in that type of space. So over here they are creating products for that, but they're more banking products and not fintech products. Open banking is something really, really innovative, but I don't know if it's going to come to the GCC quite so soon. I mean, I'd personally advocate for it, but yeah, I'm not sure if our regulators are ready for open banking yet.
And one more thing I want to add in GCC context, there is something called Sharia banking or Islamic banking. So this Islamic banking has also taken a leaf out of these conventional banks, and now they have been developing products for uh, millennials, which are they have been devising services for these millennials with the usage of AI. So I have heard something of the halal products. So there are some microfinance things. There are some lot of products which they AI is used in Sharia banking also. So I have heard of that.
Sure. Okay. Dua, you mentioned about the regulation of the industry in the GCC. Why? What are the reasons for the regulation? I mean, why is the GCC more heavily regulated than other regions? Are you able to answer that?
No, I'd be stepping on Ross's toes if I answer that question. I think that's a question for him.
Yeah, I think that's maybe why Faraz has left us. But okay, so any more questions? We're happy to ask. And if there's any questions from speakers to each other or any comments from the speakers, please feel free to share. And while we wait, I just wanted to mention that this is kind of the launch of the COMEX series of sessions, which we're going to be having more upcoming in the near future as well, focusing more deeply into each session. We're launching a COMEX app, which is going to build a kind of tech ICT type of community in the GCC region as well, where there's going to be sharing of news, ideas, products, jobs. So that's going to be launched soon, and you will all be notified about this. So I don't see any further questions coming through. I think there's, no, there are some questions here, sorry, in the Q&A. I was looking at the chat. From Shamsa Al-Shakhsi. Some organizations totally rely on chatbots for customer service. One of the challenges of chatbots is their limitations in engagement, i.e. no option to ask for clarification. There have been concerns that this leads to the loss of that human, which could result in customer dissatisfaction. I am aware tech is neutral. It essentially all comes down to how organizations utilize it. What are your thoughts on this, and how would you advise the effective implementation of chatbots? And I think this is also linked to my question earlier about kind of what is the customer feedback. But if anyone wanted to add anything further on this question about chatbots, please do. There's also the question about what is the biggest challenge in regards to digitalization in Oman. And then the question from Hanan Alani. Thank you all for your presentations. How does AI in the private banking segment cater to the needs of its customers without losing the personal experience they seek? Thank you, Hanan. So feel free for anyone to provide your comments and answers to these comments.
So I'll take Hanan's question, which is a great question. So I think the rise of the robo-advisors, right, which is where the artificial intelligence and machine learning looks at someone's investment portfolio and then recommends different investments, that suit this person's kind of financial profile, if you will. So I think in the private banking space, the best way is to actually utilize the robo-advisors, but for the humans to actually engage and keep that relationship with their customer, but to utilize that data. So maybe the AI to do the number crunching on, which investments have been successful, which investments actually match this person's profile, what other customers have done that have been, quite fruitful for them, and then to use that data and, to just the private banker to kind of take that data and make it personal to that person, and to really give them kind of human plus machine kind of validated data on their profile, and then what suits them as a private banker. So that's one of the roles that I really see actually bankers can really leverage technology for to create that engagement with their customer directly.
Thank you, Dara. And there's another question from Hirian. Is there a strong need to consolidate as banks across the GCC region? Considering the population dynamics, does this lead to need for even stronger collaboration across the players in tech and banks? Because I think what we've noticed is kind of banks, for example, from the UAE and Qatar opening up in Oman. So, and hopefully the kind of idea for the GCC is to be more unified. Of course, there have been challenges. Challenges with that. So, what do you guys think with all this kind of need and changes happening in the region?
So once banks actually move to the cloud and their architecture and their infrastructure is on the cloud, I think they're able to scale internationally, not just regionally, but internationally. But since their architecture is very much on premise, so that allows them to operate within the network of the country that they operate in. So if you're based in Oman, your customers are largely in Oman, right? If you want to go into Kuwait, for example, you have to open a bank branch in Kuwait and get that license to Kuwait to actually start serving Kuwaiti customers as an Omani bank. But once you move into the cloud and actually your core banking system can be accessed from anywhere around the world and it's secure, you're then able to offer services quite a lot quicker to any market, really. So I think it's really has to do with them, embracing technology like the cloud and microservices to ensure scalability.
Thanks, Dara, for that. Sorry, that's my dog in the background. We are 20 minutes over, so we can end the session now unless there's any further questions or comments from any of those in the session. Thank you all to the speakers in the panel and for all the delegates. We look forward to keeping in touch and having future conversations, and an encouragement for our delegates to also get in touch with the speakers if there's any other questions which they would like to have offline. So thank you everyone for your time today. We hope you enjoyed the session and hope to see you at our upcoming COMEX AI sessions as well.
Inshallah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you, panelists and the attendees.
Thank you.